Welcome to another Founder Wisdom podcast. With us today is Santosh Panda. He is co-founder at Foundership. It's a leading Web3 accelerator in VC. He's also a co-founder and a coach at Explara. If you want to start, scale, or be invited to a podcast like this one, or even find sponsorships for your podcast, you can go to podpire.com. Podcasts are amazing to learn, meet new people, give value, build your community. So build your own podcast with podpire.com. Santosh, welcome to the pod. Can you tell us a bit more about yourself and tell us about your company?
Super. Thank you so much, Charles, for inviting an awesome podcast in the last several episodes I've been watching. Fantastic work and great passion.
Thank you.
Right. So I must congratulate you to carry forward this flagship of discovering new people and new ideas. So things are great, going good this side, and super excited to deep dive and share with you.
Your company, Foundership. Tell us a bit more about it.
Sure. So the Foundership is a Web3 accelerator. In fact, it's an emerging tech accelerator because of the arrival of AI now, Gen AI. I'm sure every industry is going to go through transformation. So what we do, unlike many accelerator, it has a strong component called Coach Collective, whereby we have coaches from all over the world, 80 coaches across the world on various functions. They are the ones who come to the programs that we run for cohorts, and we do a contextual acceleration or contextual incubation. So the idea Charles might have, the idea Santosh might have, be very different. So we bring relevant coaches over a 3 to 4 month and help the founders to really overcome challenges and build traction. So that's what Foundership does. And we have 30 founders already, 4 cohorts from 9 countries, including US, UK, Singapore, Australia, India, Dubai. Right, so that's where it's taking off. It's only 11 months at the moment that we have taken shape right now. And we're looking forward to bring some amazing outcomes for the founders. And then it's globally focused. So we are trying to leverage fantastic minds across the people and then bring a great sort of coach system to the founders. The second most important thing I must share here is, unlike many other accelerators, the coaches who come to Foundership, we do a equity pool to give it to them. So every time a founder comes and joins our programs, we take X percentage in equity. And from there, we keep 1/3 for the coach pool. So we are not a accelerator where somebody like Charles comes in and does a masterclass but have nothing upside. We say, let the founder win. The coaches will have a fantastic upside, and we would truly value their time. So that's what Foundership does.
Interesting. And how is Web3 going right now?
Yeah, Web3 is definitely going through a lot of course corrections and transformation, right? In terms of, last 2 years, you have seen it, Charles, you've seen it, how pathetic it has been with a lot of, sort of consumer interest and protection losing money right then and there. But I think today the world is definitely opening up with a lot of regulations. Governments are working because Web3 cannot be stopped. But if this is a technology that is going to come to mainstream, how are they going to protect their consumers? Every country, all of us on the internet. So I think Web3 is definitely going through a stage of transformation. And we are now talking about Web3 in social, which is social fi. DeFi is already a multi-billion-dollar industry, but then there are no regulations there. People are talking about NFT or various other technology that can be part of the existing web solutions that's already existing. So going forward, Web3 is not going to be seen as something totally weird, which is what we saw in the last 3, 4, 5 years. Every time you get into a Web3 protocols or a Web3 powered solution, you have to start with a wallet. Thanks to Ethereum, account abstraction, and every other protocol adopting it, we don't have to have wallet as a starting point, but wallet could be the back-end integration. So if Charles and Santosh really traveled and they own the air miles, those air miles could come as a token. Right? So Web3 is definitely going through a transformation phase at the moment.
Yeah, I'm seeing that. Your background's quite interesting. You work at companies such as BBC, eBay, targets. What brought you to the entrepreneurial shift? Because you started Explara in 2008. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I have been a globetrotter from long time, right? Worked in Bangalore for 2 years, and then I have been in Helsinki, Finland. This is way, way back. This is year 2000. And when I went to Helsinki, I saw Nokia was the top company at that point of time. And I saw in Finland small kids with, as early as eighth and ninth classes, all holding those Nokia phones, right? And I think that transformed my mind to say, oh my God, technology is going to be definitely driving a lot of things in the world that we're going to open up. And then I spent 1 or 2 years in US, in LA. This is around the same time when Web 1 was coming in, right? People were like, this is the web.com time. Worked with a lot of ideas, which were very, very ahead of time, which is now only happening, right? And across the worldwide. And then after that, I spent 7 to 8 years in London, worked in many, many big consulting companies, and was part of very, very actively networked in the London ecosystem. A lot of new ideas were coming in, and I was part of eBay, I was part of BBC, going out to meetups, meeting with fellow founders, building some ideas and talking about it. And this is time when Open Coffee Club came in as a big thing from 2005 onwards. And that's where my entrepreneurship bug started biting and saying, hey, if this is something that we could do, why IT services? Why don't we think about new ideas? So I could foresee that I was always entrepreneur, but having worked and living in the Western ecosystem for quite a while, I could foresee that, yes, this is going to be a big sort of technology movement for the worldwide. And that's where my ideas started coming in. I experimented 1 or 2 ideas while I was in London, failed, but I didn't give it up. And 2008 is when I launched Explara, which was event ticketing company, sitting in London. I bootstrapped out from there, from India, got it developed from India, then kind of got the market to launch. This was very, very early. This is almost like 18 months after Eventbrite launched in US, right? So very early, but hey, there are a lot of downside being very early. I'll talk about that a little later.
It's interesting the model you're trying to build here with this accelerator. I believe it's one of the first in India. Are you focused in Indian companies or do you go worldwide?
Yeah, at the moment we are keeping it global because we believe, Charles, the world now, at least in 2010 to 2014 or 15, I would say the global ecosystems were very silo, right? Except US and many other countries, which has always had a global outlook. Many countries had a silo. But truly, if you look at 2018 or 2020 timeframe, the world is flat. In the sense, you can produce TikTok and go all the way to US, or you produce something else and all the way to come to India, right? Now, hence we think the ideas now going to be global ideas. The startups are going to be global startups as long as you protect consumers' interest and the national framework of every country. So we are not India specific. We truly are focusing on saying, let's leverage the global mind map of all these entrepreneurs who are building it. And if we're building something unique, that should go global. And you should think global from day one. Right? Yes, your local is definitely, if you're building something out of US or if you're building something out of UK, you would definitely have a local touch to that. But if you can really find out the delta that's going to work across the worldwide, oh my God, you will build multi-billion-dollar industry. And because we are an accelerator, we would always be looking for companies which is going to go to 100x, going to have a mind-blowing impact. So while I am based out of India, but my team members are based out of Singapore, Dubai, and India. So we kind of like taking the Asia approach first, and then we're going to slowly open up to the rest of the world.
So how do you select your startups and your founders?
So a couple of things. Being a founder, my first thing to look at a founder is agility, how agile the team is, the founders and the co-founders. Because in a world that we live in, things change every quarter, every year. And you've seen it, right? Every new thing comes in and disrupts the existing status quo. So we look at the agility part of it to say how good is the team to be agile, to change the track we require. That's the first thing first. Second is you will look out for teams where you have a co-founder. If both the founders are, one of them at least a developer. Because in the world that you are operating, because we are accelerating tech-driven companies. So we are ensuring that the co-founders are there to do it initially for a couple of months and years without really adding a lot of cash requirement for the technology part of it. Second, and the third is how big your problem statement is. If you are doing yet another NFT marketplace, thank you. You can do it on your own. You don't need an accelerator, right? You can figure it out and do it on. But if you're really doing something which is very deeper problem statements or wider market access, both different, both the depth and width, hey, we would be the great fit for you to help you to accelerate with the large network that we bring with Foundership.
Right. And sometimes some founders are great. They have pretty bad startup ideas. How do you make sure that they get product market fit as quick as possible?
Yeah, so so we figure it out on the initial day itself, right? So this is the foundership model is very contextual acceleration model. So we ensure that the startups who are joining our program has a definitive OKR and goal. Where are you? What's your MVP looks like? What are you trying to achieve? If that clarity is not there, hey, you are not getting in, right? If you don't know what you want to do, please don't come in. And if you say that in 3 weeks, I'm going to test this idea, if this goal is not done, then I have plan B and I have plan C, right? Or let's say pivot 1, pivot 2, or an iteration 1, iteration 2, in whatever form we put it. Then we figure out that, hey, the founders are not agile. They do not have a mind map to come up with variations that they want to try. So no point being with them, right? They can figure it out on their own. We are not going to be able to give out our precious time to them. So we ensure that as a model thinking, Charles.
What's the GTM strategies that you advise your founders to use? For example, my startups, they use cold email, whether it's B2B or B2C. Even if you're B2C, you can reach out to B2B partners, for example. Use an app called Apollo to do that. I research a bunch of people. I A/B test a product with a market. And then after I'm done with 100 of these tests, I can potentially get 3 product market fit. So what is your preferred growth method for most of your startups?
Yeah, so I always encourage my founders to figure out what is their inherent strength. Right? So for example, if I'm a main founder and I'm a great guy in terms of my existing network, maybe the company that I worked with, right? Maybe I come from Google or I come from OpenSea or wherever it is. So your network. Then I look at your expertise, skill. Are you a developer? And do you have a developer network? Second, are you your skill? Are you a content writer? Are you a marketer? What's your right? Second. And the third one is what you feel are the common activities that you generally like to do, right? So let's say that, hey, I love to express my opinions or my thoughts, or I love to bring people, right? So then it becomes a easy one to say, hey, use social media, existing networks like social media, maybe tweet, maybe Instagram, maybe Facebook, because you are good in activities, or do a meetup, go out to an event, right? So we take these 3 factors and look at it and say, hey, you inherently, you as a founder and a co-founder, taking these 3 things, you will arrive your nearest possible network that you should be able to leverage your first 100 users, right? For example, if I give you my example, I was always a networker, right? So event was a great thing for me. So I could quickly go out to events, meet 10 people and say, hey guys, I'm doing this. Do you want to give it a go? Just go to 10 different events in a month and you have at least 30, 40 people, they are early believers to coming in. Once they come in and you have something, then you can use their network to go to another 3, right? 30 becomes 100. And then you're going to use your traditional channels to kind of push it forward, right? So the initial traction is based upon these 3 factors that I just talked about.
Right. And what advantages can there be to build in India as a founder?
Yeah, so I think one of the good advantage with India is with the Gen Z is arriving now, right? India in 2009 and 10 was not having the sort of, firepower that India has now because of Gen Zs. Right? Gen Zs are all coding from the age 14, age 13. So when you are now launching an application, you have a demographic which can be comparable to Western demographic, right? The young, they all played on Discords. They all know about the global sort of contents and media and music, right? So you have a persona now which is very comparable to Western economy, right? And hence, if they are your only believers, if they are only supporters, or if you can bring them in terms of their engagement for your marketing, for your content, for your coding, you have got a great sort of start in terms of lower cost and a comparable sort of demographic audience that you can then expose out. So today India has that. India didn't have that in 2010, 2011. Right? So I see that as an advantage. In fact, that's a great advantage for a lot of global companies, in fact, to build out of India today. They might have struggled in 2009 of the world, but in 2020, 2023 of the world, it is fantastic market for someone to build out of India. Cost, Gen Zs, and absolutely fearless.
AI. What AI companies are hot in India? What's your outlook on it in the next 5 years?
Yeah, I think AI is going to be definitely, Charles, you would know it. AI is going to be a fantastic hygiene factor, right? We are not going to, the world is not going to live without AI. It's going to be part and parcel of almost everything that we do, right? In many forms and factors. The most obvious one are the software that we use, the ones that we daily use, and we do those mundane 5 things that can be abstracted with simple a voice, right? And India as a country with so much of population, right? The country needs efficiency. Look at what happened with the payment. India's UPI skyrocketed like anything in 4 or 5 years, digital payment, because India was struggling with cash. India was struggling with micro payments. India was struggling with those, hey, how do I manage this sort of small rupee transactions? And suddenly UPI came in, digital payments came in and just skyrocketed. Same thing is going to happen in AI, because AI can abstract a lot of those data processing, sort of long form factors which are existing in either in existing software or existing documentations or existing sort of workflows. They can be all abstracted in various sort of industries and government levels and things like that. So I see a great future for AI in India. One, second, because India's startup community are second or third in the world after US and Israel. I'm sure a lot of startups are going to transform to the AI model, right? In terms of both, not just the LLM, but the interface to get going. And India being a first to mobile country, right? India didn't have a computer to start with. India had a mobile to start with. So because it's a first to mobile, I'm sure I would look forward to foresee mobile interface voice coming out of big place saying, hey, Charles, I'm going to go there. You're transforming your AI taking over and doing whatever you want to do it as a form factor for various services. So, and mobile penetration gives you that data advantage, the interface to reach any locations and give a very, very highly efficient, powerful software that is abstracted. So I see a great future for AI in India for sure in the 5 years to come.
And who can you name, or what startup of yours have been really impressive? Have you witnessed like growing like crazy since they entered your accelerator?
Yeah, so we have one company called JedJot, who came in second time founders, came as initially came with a real world assets and more on to say we will transform asset tokenization, and now they are going out and doing a lending or a DeFi on RWA, right? It's real world asset tokenization, but hey, there's a DeFi element to it, both in terms of market makers and both in terms of interfaces for others to both lend and borrow, right? Around that, they've skyrocketed to 15 million valuation already. When they came in with a one single page. We trusted them just because the founders had agility. We knew that the founders are going to transform, iterate, and the founders had a developer in their team. And they were second time founders, which we were lucky to attract to our accelerator. That is one. There's similarly another 2 or 3 of them are already skyrocketing.
What's next for the accelerator? How do you think you can accelerate the growth and get more of these unicorns in your batch?
Yeah, so I think one of the fundamental we are also looking, Charles, is that both in Web3 and AI is still early, right? If we are looking forward to the same thing that happened in mobile form factors. Look at mobile form factors came in 2009 and still have a great play till now, right? At least 15 years, mobile form factors are providing a great innovation today. So I think the similar thing is happening both in Web3 and AI, and each of them individually as technology sort of paradigm. We believe that the only way we will be able to produce mind-blowing companies is going to be focusing on the developer, much more powerful developer kind of mind map in the accelerator. So we are launching some developer-focused program to say, hey, come and build a depth with this sort of platforms and protocol. Let's say build with NVIDIA. I'm just giving an example, nothing to do with us. Or build with Polygon, right? Just as on the other side. In a way, this helps us to create hundreds of early ideas and then pick the best one from there, which in Web2 was not required to do, because Web2 got already fantastic companies were being tried out from 2000s of the world. So suddenly the accelerators like YC and Techstars, when they came in, they had fantastic companies coming out, fantastic people coming out of Facebook and Google and creating those solutions and coming to YCs and Techstars world. But that's not the case with Web3 and at least Web3. Right? So we're saying, can we speed up the more quality developers to come to this space with our programs, with our initiatives, which we are doing, announcing in pretty much next week. And with that, we will be able to create more room with 4 to 5 weeks of time frame to work with developers and get some early ideas to the market. And then work with our partners to build a really scalable startup there. So we have an execution, and being a founder, that's what we do. Find out an execution model that is going to give us a leverage to take off, and bring that strength back to the platforms and protocols that we will partner with.
Interesting. So what goals do you focus on this year? Like, what's your plan to accomplish that growth?
Yeah, so our plan is from this remaining end of the year, we already have 30 startups in the portfolio. So we are aiming 50. That was the timeline for us to do. But for the next 3 years, our target is to do around 250 startups, accelerate them over the next 3 years. Because of a great contextual acceleration and a collective coach DAO model, I think we would able to go there rapidly. And the second is, we are now setting up a venture arm, because with the accelerator model proven, with 6 startups already raising fund and 1 or 2 of them already spiking, we are now setting up a venture arm, which means we will have money on the table when great startup founders are coming. We will be able to write the first check. With the program and with the first check, I think we will be able to do a great sort of a starting point for quality founders from all over the world to come. And because this is a virtual programs and with global engagement centers coming out of Dubai, maybe in San Francisco, maybe London, I think the world will definitely give us the opportunity to offer something for the founders to scale. So those are sort of 2 top goals at our side for Foundership for the next at least 18 months.
Very exciting. Where can people find out more about you and Foundership, Santosh?
Where do they find? We are definitely absolutely networking on the Twitter. So 24/7, not that 24/7, but on Twitter and on LinkedIn. Always open to hear out what people are building. And if I'm not on the social media actively, just tweet me on a DM, and I'm going to come back and sort of reply.